All right, going back to the top story, India's February trade data surpasses expectations. The country registers its highest export growth in goods and services in the last 11 months. All this in spite of the Ukraine war, the Suez Canal crisis, tight monetary policies in the Western world, and fall in commodity prices. Also, India announces an e-vehicle policy, pitches itself as a manufacturing destination for EVs. Joining me is Dr. Charan Singh. Dr. Singh is the CEO and founder, director of EGROW Foundation, a public policy organization based in the New Delhi suburb of Noida. Dr. Singh, welcome to DD India News Hour. First up, how do you view India's February trade data? Did it surpass your expectations?
Absolutely. I was very impressed with the data, and I have been impressed now for a couple of months. Indian economy is doing exceedingly well. I have looking at the data and the improvement that it has recorded in the month of February. Engineering goods, electronic goods are up by nearly 55%. Organic and inorganic chemicals are up by 33%, and pharmaceuticals are also up by 22%. So my own feeling is that this really surpassed what I was expecting. If you look at the trade deficit is down in the month of February. Of course, it's down for April to February too. But I was very impressed with the performance that has been put up by India on its trade front. Shows consistency and persistence effort that has been made in this context.
Dr. Singh, looking at the data available, one, overall exports to the US have been significantly higher. Two, India replaced China and Taiwan as the largest, in terms of export of smartphones to the world and also to the US in particular. What does that tell you about India's political economy?
Yes, I must mention this, that the two factors which you are referring, which are indicative of how the economy is doing and what's the geopolitics and what are the political weight and calculations which are happening. The rest of the world now knows India is becoming a very big power. We are already the fifth largest economy in the world. The trade policies that we have, the economic and macroeconomic policies that we have within the country, the rest of the world is watching it. And therefore, it is time for India. It is benefiting. And I think it's time for India to capitalize on that. Well, I must also mention that the great performance of exports that you are watching, or on the trade that you are watching, it has many other aspects too. One of it is that the Indian exporters are now very alert. We have a stable exchange rate. We are diversifying our products. The Indian economy, as you would have just noticed, a few weeks back, data was released against all expectations, and we were expecting India to only grow by 7.1%, but India recorded a growth of 8.4%. Also, India's emphasis on investing in technology, in infrastructure, that is showing us results. Now, as you mentioned about the phones, in technology and all these aspects like infrastructure, that is showing India in a very, very powerful, pivotal position. So when India's exports are improving, it is a reflection of the macroeconomic environment within the country, also a reflection of the macroeconomic policies within the country. The world is recognizing that while the rest of the world was suffering from severe downturn, some of the countries are expected to be in a recession, UK, US. Here is a country which is recovering, which is resilient, and it has absorbed the shocks that have come on its way over many things, over COVID, over the Russia-Ukraine war, over the problem in Middle East. This country has overcome all those shocks. So that resilience also builds a business confidence. So when you are exporting, the importing country, importing entities, they know that this is a very stable economy. Exchange rates are stable, politically they are stable, and the economy is performing very well. They will honor the orders against the supply chain disruptions which have taken place across the world, especially Middle East, Russia, Ukraine, China. Against that, then the confidence is built that this country, when you place an order, this will deliver.
Right, Dr. Singh, I want us to talk now a bit, if you will, about India's e-vehicle policy. Could you please put the text of India's e-vehicle policy in its proper context for our viewers? What do you think are its salient features?
Well, I must mention this to you that the e-vehicle policy is a very important policy for our country. And it is important from various angles. One is our own Prime Minister had mentioned that he will go for net zero, and we are making efforts that there's minimum pollution in our country. And of course, we are contributing towards the towards ensuring the greenhouse effects and all that is minimized. So the government has announced a beautiful policy, which is firstly it talks about the minimum investment required. So we are expecting large companies to come in. We are expecting that, and is also talking about indigenization and local component. It's given them a time of 3 years and 5 years, and within that they say that there has to be a local impact and local component in that, so that the country benefits from that. Level of localization is between 25% and 50%. I think that is very, very attractive. Also very useful for the manufacturers, ancillary units, MSMEs within our country. The customs duty has also been placed at a certain level, and not that there will be a runaway, there's a limit. And the point is that not more than 8,000 EVs per year would be permissible for import under this scheme. So there is some incentive also which is coming in. So my own feeling is that this very scheme which has been announced is in the interest of our country. How is
Okay.
it in the interest of our country? It is going to, of course, incentivize manufacturing and make in India, something that the present regime has been pursuing. The day they joined, and they said we need to improve our industrial base. China is playing such a prominent role in the neighborhood, but we need to build manufacturing capacity within our country. So this is going to, of course, obviously help that. The infrastructure development that will take place along with this EV vehicles, it includes incentives and support for the establishment of charging stations, both across rural and urban areas, highways and public spaces. I think that is also very important. So it has ancillary effect. Then there are financial incentives for consumers, such as subsidies and tax rebates and reduced registration fees for purchasing electric vehicles. I think that's very, very important. Encouraging the consumers to now participate in that net zero exercise which we are doing. And finally, and I think that's the most important, which has a long-term implication, is an R&D innovation support. I think that's going to play a very important role, and the government is playing a role in offering grants, funding, and other forms of support to academic institutions, research organizations, and industry players.
Right.
I must also mention that when you do something like a EV policy like this and you allow imports to happen, local manufacturers and local automobile producers, they also have a great incentive to innovate. And I think overall, an ecosystem that gets built, and this only this innovation, the ecosystem, and the import or permitting foreign investment to come in, generally generates a very high level of competence, better quality, and also the delivery becomes earlier than
Right.
what would have happened in the usual course. So this is a great policy.
Indeed. Dr. Singh, by way of some more context for our viewers, how does India's e-vehicle policy compare with the rest of the world?
Well, I must say that rest of the world also there is a concern about pollution, and e-vehicles are making a headway in it. And therefore, rest of the world is also providing some of these things which I mentioned, like charging infrastructure. China and European Union have ambitious plans to expand charging networks in their own country, including fast chargers along the highways. And that's a very big concern all of us have had, that will the vehicle, how much time will it take to charge it? So globally also, especially China and Europe are working on it. Incentives and subsidies are also being provided. We in India, of course, are providing, but there are other countries like Norway, China, Netherlands. They have been also providing substantial amount of incentives to boost EV vehicles. There's been manufacturing support also. And in that manufacturing support, China and USA have also been playing a role and ensuring that they provide subsidies for helping it and doing it fast. There's a regulatory framework. And in European countries, for example, they have stringent emission regulations and incentivizing automakers to produce electric and low emission vehicles.
Right.
So there's a regulatory mechanism also. And then there is public procurement and fleet electrification. Governments worldwide are ensuring and increasing adopting e-vehicles in their official fleets. And then, of course, research and development support from universities
Right.
is being provided. So, to that extent, India is playing a global responsible role and
Right.
contributing in that effort to make the planet greener.
Dr. Singh, I have just about enough time to ask you one last question on this broadcast. Now, India's Petroleum and Natural Gas Minister Hardeep Singh Puri launched Ethanol 100 pure ethanol fuel from an Indian oil outlet in New Delhi. A welcome move, do you think?
Of course, of course. And the important thing is that if you see from the last year, within a year, how they have progressed so fast that today there are 12,000 outlets with E20. And now E100, what he was mentioning, and I think they need to be congratulated, the ministry, from 183 outlets, which they are talking about now, within a month, they are going to escalate it to 400 outlets. Means the progress with which they are doing and with the objective that they are doing, I think is marvelous and they need to be congratulated. I think the efforts in the country need to be celebrated because ethanol that we are talking of really reduces pollution. And also it takes care of the agriculture farmers and their incomes. I thought the statistics which he gave that while we are doing a saving of 41,000 crore in foreign exchange, we are giving the farmers 42,000 crore. I think that's marvelous statistics. Also, if you look at it, the planning has started very well. We need 1,500 crore liters of ethanol. Some of it will come from grain, some will come from sugar. Now, all that has been planned year by year that by 25-26, we should be able to have under 20% ethanol thing. We need about 1,350 crore liters. We are planning to be producing about 1,500 crore liters. I think the efforts that the government is making, the direction that they are pursuing, and the success that they have demonstrated, this needs to be celebrated.
All right. On that note, may I thank you, Dr. Singh, for joining us and sharing your thoughts and insights with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated.